Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, worlds of TV, film, pop culture, news, sports, everything really. Depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guest from The Flash on the CW. He plays Chester P. Runk. Brandon McKnight is with us. Brandon, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
I'm excited to chat with you. The first thing that comes to mind is what's it like playing Chester? I mean, it's such a fun kind of I don't know, man. Chester P. Rock, he's the guy. You know what I mean?
He's the guy. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. A lot of random. It's really like my approach to him is really just like doing whatever comes to my mind in the moment. You know what I mean? The biggest, most expressive. Because he's really just a kid. He's a kid in a grown man's body.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. So you like that I said that, right? He's the guy.
He's the guy. He's the guy, man.
For you specifically, I mean, you know, you're shooting this in Vancouver. You're from Toronto originally. What was that kind of like in terms of starting and getting the storyteller acting bug? How did that start for you?
Like, where did I start, like, acting?
Yeah, exactly. Where did that come to be?
Yeah, I think my first play that I ever did, I didn't really know I knew what acting was as a kid, but I didn't see it as like a career and all that kind of stuff. But the first time I ever did it was on stage in grade 7, I think it was. I was 12, so yeah, I think that's grade 7 for me. And my drama teacher was also our English teacher, and she had us like write our own play as a class for like a project. And we ended up coming up with the idea of what we called the Grammy or the Granny Awards, where it was like an awards show for all of the fairy tale characters. So I played Little Pig number 2, and I had a couple of, and then I think we were accepting an award for like engineering or something for building the houses. And 2 of my friends were playing Little Pig number 1, Little Pig number 3, and we went out. And before we went out to go accept our award, we decided, all right, you know what? Let's dance. Let's like moonwalk out. Let's do all these different things. So we came up with this plan. None of this was rehearsed. You know what I mean? And then we just went out, we did a whole dance thing, we did a whole thing, and people loved it. People were like laughing and cheering,
and the rest was history.
The rest was history. After hearing that, I was like, I want to do this always. Like, this is what I want to do forever.
Everyone has different kind of paths to kind of getting where they are, but like from time, because I ask that question a lot because you always have different kind of responses and different stories and different backstories. But it sounds like theater and like is like where a lot of people have like learned their craft. It's kind of like the stepping stone, like the starting for the grassroots.
Because you don't need any money to do theater. No. Number one, you know what I mean. And you could literally go outside and do a play on the street if you wanted to. Yeah. So it's really, really easy to do, and it's the roots of what the whole thing is. It doesn't matter how good of an actor you are. If you do it on stage, that's where the real proving grounds and real testing grounds are. You know.
And now, flash forward to me, you're Chester P. Runk in The Flash. I mean, it's one of those things where we all know that, you know, the CW, the DC universe, the comic book culture, it's massive and everything.
Yeah.
Did it become a different perspective and a whole new level of understanding it once you got that role? Like, you obviously knew before that comic book culture, geek culture, it's a big deal. But then you kind of are on The Flash. What's that kind of like, the comparison?
It's been dope seeing the amount of love that people, there's also like a little bit of hate here and there too, but like seeing how people respond to it and seeing how much it means to everybody has been really dope. But I try not to, like, I'm a big nerd myself. Like I'm super into like comic book stuff and superheroes and blah, blah, blah. So I knew the impact and I knew what the culture was and how vast it was and how thick it was. But I don't really think about it too often. I get a little bit of love here and there and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of just keep it moving. You know what I mean? But it is very, I do feel privileged to be on a show like this and be in a universe like this that impacts so many people in the way that it does.
And it's like, you're a storyteller, you're an actor. Work is work, you know what I mean? If it's a
Yeah,
good script, if it's a good opportunity, you're gonna go for it. But it's one of those things where it is a special feeling, like you said, to kind of be part of a universe like this.
Yeah, one of my friends actually pointed it out because, like, originally I'm from Brampton.
Yeah.
And Brampton, for everybody that doesn't know, Brampton is a like smaller city outside of Toronto, maybe 15, 20-minute drive. And yeah, a friend of mine, Shaquan Lewis, there's one day where, because I don't like letting things get to my head, because then I start making decisions out of that stuff rather than out of me. You know what I mean? But one day he was like, "Nah, bro, let it get to your head. You're a black kid from Toronto. I mean, from Brampton. From Brampton. If you're not from the GTA, you don't know about Brampton. You know what I mean? And now you're in the DC universe playing this character that's never been played before. And every once in a while, it's good to sit in that night. I think about that. Never for too long. Never for too long.
Canada.
Canada, stand up.
But it's interesting because I've had this conversation. We were talking like before we started, right? Like some of your friends, like Lavelle, Umberly. I mean, crushing
Small
it.
community. I know,
but crushing it,
crazy.
right? Like,
crazy.
But it's interesting too because, you know, and we'll get in the flash of our questions, but, you know, I talked to a few people about this recently because, you know, the Mighty Ducks Game Changers on Disney Plus, you know, I grew up with the Mighty Ducks movies. We're interviewing a lot of cast from that. That's filmed in Vancouver, so there are some Vancouver actors that are on that show. And I had this conversation with them about Canada and Canadian content. There was a struggle for a while to get the kind of recognition and get it out there. And I still think we're not there. I think I don't know if it's an overcompensated, there's like a roadblock, I find. You know what I mean? A little bit?
It's like a glass ceiling kind of thing, a little bit. Things are changing, and they are changing pretty quickly with all things considered. You know, and I feel like the powers that be are doing whatever they can to keep it cheaper to shoot things up here. You know what I mean? So that we get more things up here. I know that Netflix is opening up a new
office in Toronto.
In Toronto, you know what I mean? And CBS came up here last year, the year before. So there's a lot of things that are happening, and they're like, relatively speaking, they're happening pretty quickly.
You understand where I'm coming from, though, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. There's been a glass ceiling on top of Canada for a very long time in terms of this industry, even in terms of our own, when we create our own content, not having enough grants and having enough help to do that.
Yes, because you're shooting in Vancouver, but The Flash is not a Canadian show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the same thing with a lot of my friends on, and I'm sure you have some friends that are on Lock and Key, which is a Netflix show filmed in Toronto. Yeah, exact same thing. And I remember talking to a few of them, like all excited about how like, yeah, it's filmed in Toronto and everything, but again, they kind of said like, but like kind of like they brought up the glass ceiling, and I was kind of like, I wasn't like planning on asking that, but I get it.
It's true, man. But that's the thing, though. This ceiling is being raised and raised more and more. Everything's happening and developing really, really quickly, and hopefully, with all these shows coming up here, it creates enough revenue and it creates enough of a culture in Canada to create its own. Number one, we don't have a star system. You know what I mean? There's nobody that's considered a Canadian star until you go to the States. You know what I mean? Yeah. So with the amount of things that are coming here, and with the amount of actors that are getting work now, and the amount of money being funneled into Canada for this, I feel like we're laying a foundation to have this culture of the film industry kind of blow up a little bit more, because there's a lot of talented people up here, man. They just aren't getting the shine.
No, they're not. And I want to address that, and I'm glad you brought that up. You look at like the Flash and some of the moments that Chester has had, and just like the 90s time traveling, that was just like the best. That was
my favorite.
I don't know what else to say about that. It was just the best. Like the memes and the GIFs online. What was that? What was that whole thing like? That must have been a blast.
That was a lot of fun. I was born in 1990, so I'm like the 90s kid. And like, it was just nostalgic. I've said this before, like the entire 9-10 days that we shot that, I was just listening to every piece of 90s music. It was just a trip down memory lane. Really.
I love the GIFs and the memes. Have you seen some of the GIFs and the memes?
I've seen a few of them. I haven't seen most of them, but I've seen a few. Yeah,
they're pretty funny. It's just.
I remember there's this one dude who called us out on our shoes. On the shoes, I was wearing the Jordan 5s, but they were like they were a copy that came out in 2020.
Did you tweet? Did you respond? Did someone respond to it on Twitter?
I don't know. I'm not super on Twitter,
I
but
think I saw
somebody
something.
tagged me
Yeah,
on
I think
Instagram.
I saw that
Yeah.
on Twitter. But man, the fan base for the Flash is incredible. Like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the DC universe. There's a lot of amazing shows, but like that
Yeah.
show just is just
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's amazing.
They're
What's
big
that like?
fans.
What's that like? The interaction with fans and everything. What's that like for you?
The fans they're just so excited
Yeah.
about like everything that happens. So excited, so open, so loving. Like the amount of love that you get from just like knowing from them just knowing that you're on the show and them knowing that you're with these characters and playing with these actors that they've fallen in love with over the last 6 years. They're just so inviting. So everybody wants to know everything about you. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
The reason I'm laughing is because I just noticed what it says on your shirt, and that's amazing.
It's my favorite shirt.
Yeah,
Man.
but you came. You're here, so.
It's my favorite shirt.
No, because like you
I
were
was actually
like
2 minutes early, so it was good. It was good.
when people kind of see Chester P. Runk in The Flash, and you say it's like a fun, like I said, he's the guy, and it's like a fun character to play. But like, what are you hoping people get out of it? Like, not only like The Flash, but like moments with your character and everything. Like, what's the end goal with Chester, in your opinion?
Just that's a good question. I've actually never thought about that. Like, what would be the end goal that I want people to get from Chester? I mean, here's the thing: he's forever developing, and even though I've played him for however many episodes it's been now, every episode you find something new. I mean, we're coming into the finale of season 7 in terms of shooting.
Yeah.
And every episode I'm discovering something new. I'm like, oh yeah, he's doing this now. Oh yeah, he's doing that now. Oh yeah. And there's so many things that happen with the team and happen with the story, and so many changes that happen.
Yep.
And he's still in a constant state of adjusting and finding his place, but also finding his confidence and seeing where he stands. So like I feel like the deeper message with Chester is that you never stop learning, number one, and that you're chances are you're better than you think you are. One of the things Eric Wallace told me going into season 6 was he's the smartest person in every room, he just doesn't know it.
Yep.
And he's the most empathetic person in every room, and he just doesn't know it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So coming into oneself, I think, is a big art for Chester. And just not knowing how valuable he really is to the team. And I feel like the audience will start to learn how valuable he is as the episodes progress.
I'm going to ask you the middleman question. This is a question that I ask. Yeah, this is you always get kind of different reactions and answers to this question. So you're Brandon McKnight. You're an actor from Brampton, Ontario.
Yep.
You're in The Flash on the CW. You play Chester P. Runk.
Yep.
You're a 90s kid. You started in theater. You are where you are right now. You're doing a lot of cool things. You are what can make an argument. You're young up. You're still kind of developing and growing as a storyteller,
100%.
young up and coming artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at people in the industry and looking up to people and still learning and everything. But at the same time, you're at the point of your career where people see you as Chester on The Flash, and some young up and coming storytellers or people in high school might be looking at you and be like, hey, I want to one day be an actor like Brandon McKnight. I want to be in it. So it's an interesting situation that you're in. I call it the middleman situation because you're looking up to people, but at the same time people are looking up to you. Have you ever thought about that? It's a cool concept to think about.
It is a cool concept to think about, but I think that goes straight back to the thing where you never stop learning and you never stop growing. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever want to be at a place where I stop being inspired by people and stop looking up to people.
Absolutely.
And there's a few people that DM me on Instagram and ask me questions about acting and stuff like that, and I always reach out because when I actually started to chase it as a career, that wasn't until I was 21, 22, where I started to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to try and do, and I had nobody. You know what I mean? I did nobody, and there's this weird thing with this industry where a lot of people like to keep things lock and key. Shout out to Lock and Key. So people like to keep things lock and key and hush hush, and you know what I mean. And there's a benefit to that because there's a benefit to gaining the skills to figuring things out on your own
100%.
and learning how to do things on your own. And there's a level of grit that comes with that I think is very important. But there's also, there were many times where I wish somebody would just like help. And like, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to learn? What classes do I got to take? Blah, 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 blah. So I always try to like show me a roadmap, whether I follow it completely or not. This would be like, show me something. And whenever people DM me and I get the chance, and there's just a lot of it, but whenever I get the chance, I always help people, especially when it's acting questions, just because I know how tough it is. But yeah.
To add to that, though, I find it interesting because I definitely have seen like a shift and change in the industry where there is more opportunities and like people want to kind of help out more people and network because it was kind of like a competition thing in the first, but I think people are realizing there's so much content opportunities, there's so much ability to do and create things that they want.
I think people are just more woke now.
Yeah.
People are reading more self-help books and realizing that they don't have to drive themselves in the ground in order to keep their position. What's for you is for you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because I mean, you're from Brampton too. The sports, you have some friends that probably work in the sports entertainment. Like it's the same there.
100%.
Like it's so competitive.
It's all media, all entertainment. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like people are just waking up to realizing like, okay, you know what? It's both ways because there's also a great rise in depression and anxiety and stuff like that. But then on the flip side of that, or maybe because of that, people are taking care of themselves differently. Yeah. So this crab in the bucket type mentality isn't as strong as it used to be, where people are like, okay, no, you know what, that wasn't for me. It's all good. The next one's coming. Okay, that was for me. It's good. The next one's coming. So it's not so much of still competition, very much so, but it's not so people at each other's necks.
But there's opportunities too, right? Like someone might, but like someone like the person that messages you on Instagram. I mean, that person might be down the road working on a really cool project that you never know, right? Like there could be a collab there. Exactly. And I think we're more open to hearing things and not just kind of closing the doors anymore. Because like you said.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing too, because like, and that's why that's not why I always do it. I always try to reach out and help people because like that's just what I like to do. It fuels me, and knowing that somebody else is going to take that information and hopefully or possibly do something with it and probably create a whole career for themselves. That's an incredible thing. But it's also like, I lost my train of thought. It's also
it's humbling.
It's just an important thing to do and to reach out and to help people. Oh, this is what I was going to say. When I started chasing it as a career, I did a lot of student films and a lot of like the entire first half of my career, I didn't make a penny doing this. You know what I mean? I was just doing everything for free because I wanted to do it. I wanted to learn and blah, 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 blah. But so many people that I met through doing these student films that I made friends with, I ended up creating great relationships with, where whenever I had a project, they were willing to help me. Whenever they have a project and they're moved on to do like bigger and better things, they look to me, kind of thing. So you create this whole community from just reaching out to people and helping each other out. And I feel like good energy just begets more good energy. You know what I mean?
100%, man. No, absolutely. Yeah. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man.
Thanks for having me, bro. It was good.
No, this was great. We're obviously talking about The Flash because Chester is the
guy.
He's the guy, right? So, they can catch you as Chester P. Runk in The Flash. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
The only thing I really use is Instagram. I got a Twitter, but I'm never on there. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. McKnight.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, until next time, this is Brandon McKnight, who plays Chester, the guy on The Flash, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.